The Ohio State Buckeyes are 3-0 after a nice dominating 49-14 win over the Marshall Thundering Herd. It didn't start the way that the Buckeyes may have wanted it to, but by the end of the first half and into the second half, the Buckeyes got rolling and were able to take care of business. We dive into the film room this morning on the Buckeye Breakdown Podcast.
We've got the whole crew together as we cover Ohio State with our instant analysis from Ohio State.
There's something that doesn't feel right.
Unbelievable effort from him today. Is E.J. Liddell going to crack the first team All Big Ten?
I think he can be the guy. I'm not trying to start a quarterback controversy.
He seems to have the durability. He certainly has the toughness. This is the question on a lot of people's minds here. Welcome to Buckeye Breakdown.
Everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Buckeye Breakdown Podcast. A victory Sunday after Ohio State's 49-14 win over the Marshall Thundering Herd. Anthony Moeglin here, my partner Kevin Weike, bringing you another film room edition of our Buckeye Breakdown Podcast. An edition or an episode that we're always so excited to do on Sunday mornings to get you ready for NFL football. Little appetizer before the real meal coming in later this afternoon. Kevin, before we dive into the film, what were your general thoughts on what we saw yesterday? I know that we, on our show on Thursday, talked about some things that Ohio State had to kind of protect against, like sluggish start coming out of a bye week and being ready for a Marshall team that, while they're maybe not on the same level as Ohio State, can certainly put a scare into you, which I think that they did in Columbus on Saturday. But what were some of your thoughts after you got to watch the game?
Absolutely. So a couple different things came across. I think we were a little sluggish to start. I apologize outright if my audio is a little bad or my voice a little shaky in Chicago for a wedding, so not my normal setup. I think we were a little sluggish to start, and then it kind of was almost the whole half, I think. And I mean, we'll see it later. It just, we didn't really hit our stride until kind of the second half. And I was worried that's what was going to happen, but not necessarily. I mean, it's not like it should be accepted. We should have played better. And I mean, we do a good job of giving everyone their flowers, but we also got to bring it down to earth when we don't play how the expectations that are set for Ohio State.
Yeah, there's certainly a standard to try to achieve and try to get to. And for Ohio State, it felt like they didn't hit that. And it's really interesting, teams and coaches especially, you'll hear it all the time, regardless if you're talking to a high school coach, a college coach, a pro coach. Coming out of a bye week is always the scariest thing, especially in Ohio State's situation where you're coming out of a bye week and you don't have a marquee matchup on the other side. You have the Marshall Thundering Herd, which you play that game yesterday 100 times. Ohio State probably wins 99 of them. So you don't have the ability that the guys don't have that, the get up that you'd get if you had Oregon on the other side, or you had even a Michigan State or Iowa or whomever. So you're fighting that battle, but you're also, this is a group that's it's a veteran group, but there's a bunch of new guys. And, the more challenging part is you had a bye week in the third week of the season. So you weren't quite clean yet, but it was uncharacteristic time for an actual bye week. So you're fighting that battle as well. The coaches can try all they want. They can tell you all the things, but it's ultimately up to the guys to come out and really bring it. And yesterday they just didn't. It was 7-7 after the first quarter. It was 28-14 at halftime. And Ohio State really just couldn't get into a rhythm. And we wrote about it a bunch over on the site and even talked about it after the game. Part of the reason was because Marshall did come out and match them physically and showed up and was ready to go. The other reason is Ohio State hit on a couple massive plays. You had two different drives in the first half. That one was a 2-play drive. The other was a 1-play drive. So while those are awesome and they're fantastic and you'll never take those off the board, that does put your defense right back on the field and on a hot day, one that Marshall was going on these long drives. So that's another element to the challenge. But, that's the give and take with some of this explosive offense that we've seen throughout the years. Kevin, you've certainly seen it in your time playing Ohio State, but also it looks like that it's back. And Ohio State has another group that can really have some of those explosive plays into them.
Absolutely. Sorry, I use the word absolutely a lot. I got to power through. I also noticed, like, especially on the first drive, and we'll see it. Their offensive line, I mean, Division I offensive lineman. I mean, they got big bodies up front, and they held their own for a good part of the game. Our D-line was kind of kept in check, and it was – I mean, the quarterback doesn't really throw the ball, so you only got to hold up for like 2 seconds until he turns and runs, but he's got quick feet. It's just it was interesting to see, and obviously we'll see in a second we jump in, but that offensive line from Marshall did impress me with how they were able to hold up against. We didn't have our full D line, but with who we had out there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It was like you said, Marshall did come out and really, in my opinion, punched Ohio State in the mouth, and we'll jump into it here now. But from a stats perspective, Will Howard finished the day 16 of 20 for 275. Quinshon Judkins and Travion were the two-headed horse in the backfield. Quinshon 14 carries for 173 and 2 with an 86-yard touchdown run, the biggest of his career. Travion Henderson 6 carries for 76 and 2. Emeka led the way, receiving with 5 catches for 117. The big one being the 68-yarder for a touchdown, and then Jeremiah Smith continued to pick up right where he left off. 3 catches, 70 yards, and a score. Carnell Tate got into the mix, 4 catches for 64 yards. So a solid day across the board, right? They get a 5-score win. At the end of the day, it is a 5-score win. You did end up taking care of business. Maybe it wasn't the way we wanted it to look. Maybe there's some stuff to correct and to get into, and we'll certainly do that here. So getting it going, first drive of the game. Okay, what's going to be really important? Ohio State comes down, and we didn't even, Kevin, we won't talk about it, but the special teams was a little bit of a head scratcher. We'll show one special teams clip, but a little bit of a head scratcher yesterday, and one that I'm certain that they're discussing this morning. But first drive of the game, right? Marshall takes the opening kickoff, and one of the big things that teams can do to set the tone right away is to force a 3-and-out. Ohio State has the opportunity to do so here. They do a really nice job, and I remember vividly up in the press box thinking, all right, Ohio State coming out first, third, and short, right? First, third, and less than 5. Looks like they're in man-to-man coverage. Right where this clip starts, the quarterback already has the ball in his hand. So prior to him catching the snap, I think this is Caleb down here at the bottom of our screen. Everybody looked like they were in man-to-man coverage, but at the snap of the ball, you see it. You see these safeties fly out. And then you're gonna get these linebackers fly out into zone. You're gonna get a hook defender here, flat, and then flat player here. So they do a really nice job. They would have got me. They disguised it and they tricked me, but they also tricked Stone Earl, who thought he was getting something. He didn't get what he was. His eyes changed. The picture changed post snap, and that's all right. He broke out of the pocket. And a risky throw, throwing it back across your body here, but he makes it work and moves the sticks on first down. I said it in our post-game show yesterday. Stone Earl was super impressive to me. And after watching the tape, my eyes didn't lie to me. This kid is just really tough. He's a tough dude. Like I said, I don't think he's an NFL kind of a guy, or maybe even a CFL or XFL kind of a guy, but this kid can play some football, and his teammates really respond to him well. And it's plays like this where you get a guy who wants to make a name for himself. He's got 60 minutes to try to make something happen, that he's going to give it your all, or his all. So really nice conversion from Marshall, and not bad defense by Ohio State. They get a little pressure inside. You're getting a nice rush in there. In theory, this probably should get picked off here. I think that's Jordan. That probably should get picked off, but it doesn't. Oh, well, nice play. They move the sticks on first down, and Ohio State responds really, really well. Very next set of downs, get him into another third down. Okay, Marshall gets you on the first one. Can't let him get you on the second one. And now Stone goes right through, or Marshall's quarterback goes through all his progressions. You watch his eyes here. Starts up top on the left, right? If he's going 1 to 2, then he comes in, he flips his hips here. Bang, flips his hips with his eyes. This is his third read right here. That's covered up. And now he's like, uh-oh, I got one left. Caleb's going to drive on this. And then it's up to Denzel Burke, who's your best player, to just plaster his receiver as the quarterback's holding on to the football. But he doesn't. He does. This is really good coverage, and this is just a really great throw. He stands in the pocket and delivers one up the seam. But the fact that something that sticks out to me here, Kevin, is that he was able to flip through an entire progression and get to his fourth receiver a little bit late, coming all the way across the field with no pressure, because I think Marshall's offensive line, and you see it here, Marshall's offensive line does a really nice job of blocking it up and making sure that he's got no pressure on him. And that plays a huge factor in plays like this.
Absolutely. And they kind of, what they're doing there is they're letting their defense lineman rush, and then having the offense lineman like that left tackle just let him rush across his face and they just wash him down and pass. That's high school teach tempo right there. Just, hey, if you get beat, just keep your hand on his hip and keep running him by and let the quarterback step up. And he steps up and he's got a shot from Jack Sawyer coming after he delivers this pass and still is able to throw it.
Stuck in there, and Sawyer, a really nice rush here by Jack too, where he gets the right tackle, thinks he's got him beat. He gets blessed by that. That's never a good feeling, man. It would be. I'll tell you what, I would never sign up to play defensive end because you think you're free, and then he doesn't get decleated. But man, that don't feel good.
You get chipped right there, and then and a good ball. You put it in a window that could only go in one spot.
Yeah, good throw there, and now Marshall's moving. They're moving the sticks a little bit. And they're going down the field. A couple plays later here on another first down. This is just a tough run. This is something that you knew you were going to get from Marshall. Is just that level of toughness, being that they're the underdog. They know they're the underdog. They're going to come in and try to ruin everyone's day. But one thing that was interesting when we were talking with Jordan Hancock after the game, because somebody asked him, like, Jordan, what's it about? Talk to us about some of these teams, because even Akron went up the field on them on their first drive. Marshall did it here on their first drive. Western, it was their Western second drive that they went up the field, and they were like, what's kind of the thing? Because, this team, Ohio State's so good, and this roster's so good, and all the things we've ever talked about. And he goes, yeah, I mean, you can watch all the tape you want, and we're prepared for it. And then, an air raid team comes out and runs the ball, 4 out of their first 10 plays, and we're out of position because this isn't what we prepared for, just because we're limited on what we have available in terms of film, limited on study, just because there isn't much out there yet. So he goes, yeah, we can prepare all we want. And they come out and do something totally different. We have to respond on the fly. He said we didn't, but guess what we did? We went over to the sidelines, we made our corrections, and we came out and we're able to kind of shut the water off the rest of the way. And so you got to kind of factor that stuff in too, because, a run like this, now a nice finish by this Marshall running back right here, a little tough run right through, kind of Caleb kind of coming across like that. But I thought that was an interesting perspective from Jordan when he was talking about, hey, it's hard sometimes when you're coming out of a game or coming onto the field and you're seeing stuff that's potentially totally new.
Absolutely. And last week I talked about it. Those defenders are reading those tackles, and what they did on the last play and this play is they're pass setting and then running a draw. So those, you can see they're in a pass protection, and it's a design play to draw for a draw. So then it forces those defenders to be on their heels thinking, oh, a pass is coming. Both safeties, you can see them. Yep. Caleb's not looking at the running back. He's looking over there, and same with I don't know if that's Latham up there or if that's Hancock, but that's the point of the play. We used to run this in high school, actually. And that guard's one job. There's one defender you got to worry about, and it's getting on that linebacker. He does a good job of getting on it right there. Because you can see it. Everyone else is rushing upfield. It isolates the defensive line, slows down their rush, and everything.
It's such a good point too, Kevin, because just like you said, this safety is responsible for the alley, right? He's the alley player. Here's your alley. Mm-hmm. This is that's his responsibility. And his eyes, it's such a good catch by you. His eyes are looking at the receiver. Our eyes down here are looking at the receiver, just based on the coverage, whatever we were doing, because they saw pass, like, all right, now this running back does a really nice job of setting up the linebacker here, setting up the block where this guard can get on it. He pushes it in, get just enough of space, and bang, there's your 14-yard gain just off of a really nice play call. And again, something similar. This is a Q draw, quarterback draw, where when you run the quarterback, and we've seen this, everywhere you talk, when you run the quarterback, you get an extra blocker. It creates an extra gap that the defense has to defend, especially too when you're running kind of a Q draw. Look, you got Cody Simon, just dead sprint out to the flat here. His eyes are totally off because he's thinking pass. Get your block set up inside. And now if you're Marshall, you stop the tape right here, because as the quarterback goes to try and make a nice play, peanut punch, and almost saved everything bad we were just talking about. This right there almost saved a touchdown drive and took points off the board. And, truth be told, that's something that this Ohio State team is. They are that bend, don't break kind of style. And when you get into the red zone, you have to get all the way to the goal line. Their points are hard to come by against this group. And it's plays like this that almost saved the day. Awesome. All right. Well, we get it. Get that fumble, right? We almost recover it. It gets out of bounds, but it sets up a 1st and goal. As you can see here on the score bug, it's 3rd and goal. So Ohio State does a nice job on 1st down, does a nice job on 2nd down, but stopping a team 4 straight times from inside the 1-yard line. Pretty tough. Marshall opens the game on a huge drive, take the lead 7-0. Then Ohio State comes out, gets the ball at the 30-yard line, a rush on 1st down, gets them 2 yards, and they're like, screw the long drive. Let's just give this football to Emeka Egbuka, and this was awesome. We almost saw something similar a few weeks back against Akron when Jeremiah Smith dropped a very similar-looking screen, but this picture right about here, once he caught it, it's like, all right, here's the cavalry, right? You got 1 for 1. You got G coming across the field there. I don't even know if Seth has anybody to block. I think there's a guy out there. I think Donovan's peeling back just to make sure, but like at this point, you're like, all right, he's gone. Like there ain't nobody catching Emeka in space, and awesome for Emeka to get this thing going on offense here.
Absolutely. And on that play, so yeah, Simon's key is the flat defender to up. So if Jeremiah's defender comes inside, that's his job to clean up. Seth is, so if he comes across Jeremiah's face and comes inside, then Jeremiah goes up to that safety that's at the 45. I'm assuming, but he plays outside. Jeremiah stays on him. Josh Fryer sees that, then goes up to that safety. So that becomes the new flat defender. The Seth, who's the second guy out, will then go to the middle, the next guy inside. So that's both G gets him here, but usually against better teams that won't happen. And against better teams, that linebacker will start to flow over the top that's right in front of him. And then if you watch as it goes forward, stop it here. So this is called the rat kill. So out of Donovan here, where you peel back and you're not really allowed to block towards you're not allowed to block towards your goal line anymore. So he does a good job of not really blindsiding the guy and laying him out, which is what I would have done. He as it plays, he does a good job at doing the old basketball screen setup. Yep, make eye contact, boom, and then obviously you can see it. Josh Fryer does a good job getting on that safety. Seth cleans it up towards the end. Let me see. He sees that G's got him, so then Seth cleans up that safety. Yep,
that's
and
just
then
like,
Carnell.
give me some action. And then Carnell finishes it off, man. That's the stuff you love to see. And Carnell's going to come back a little bit later with another similar clip. But 2 weeks in a row, or 2, I guess, film sessions in a row here, Kevin, that Carnell is kind of showing up in the blocking. Like, obviously, it's picked up really well. And one thing I want to hit back on here, that caught my attention, that Brennan and I talked about yesterday in our post-game show, some of the stuff that we saw from Chip Kelly. And this was another just good design, right? You were talking about how this linebacker against better teams is going to get over the top. And yes, I agree that that's going to be true. But I also love the backfield action, using the running back to account for these guys with some run motion this way, just to get these guys, if it's even 1 or 2 steps, just to get them off their path a couple steps. Mm-hmm. We use that run motion. They take 2 shuffle steps and they're beat, because he should be on the Buckeye to stop that play. Yep. He's not. His eyes are in the backfield, because they use a little run action, just enough to get him out of position, and then bang, he's gone. But funny you talk about here this peel back block right there. 6 years ago, 7, 8, 9 years ago, this dude doesn't finish the game now, and I agree with it. Football's a little bit safer. He can finish the game, but he knows that, oh man, I almost just got my my bell rung a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
All right, good one to get back on the board. So another thing, like I was saying earlier, big play puts the defense right back on the field. They do a nice job, get Marshall off the field on their second drive, gives it back to our offense. And now here's one that, again, we talked about, and this was interesting to watch. We got a nice coverage adjustment, something that Ohio State maybe wasn't expecting. And then this is a great teach tape for Jeremiah, because I think he kind of this one would be on him, in my opinion, if I was if it was me grading the tape out. So what it looks like here in this secondary shell, looks like we got a 2 high set, right? And we're going to get some form of palms, right? When I say 2 high or middle of the field open, that means you got 2 safeties, and there they are right there. So when you get that look there, you can get a couple of things. You can get a cover 2 look where the corners play the flats. You can get a quarters look where the corners play deep, or you can get a cover 6 where half the field's 2, half the field's 4. There's so many things you can do. The one thing that kind of catches Ohio State off guard is they get what's called a cloud coverage. And what a cloud coverage means is it shows as a 2 high in the middle of the field open coverage, but one of the sides, and probably the boundary side, the corner squats like it's cover 2 and takes the flat, and then it becomes cover 3 over top. So what happens is the corner rushes up, takes the flat, then this safety flies over top and plays his deep third. If you were to split the field into thirds, then this safety rolls to the middle, plays that middle third, and then this corner then is responsible for this third, right? Cover 3 is a very common coverage, but it's just a different way to get to it. Ohio State probably expecting, and you see this corner down below buzz the flat, which is what that's called. His eyes are inside. He buzzes the flat, and then all of the coverage on the backside becomes cover 3. So it's like, oh, in your head as a quarterback, you got to snap out of it. It's like, oh, I thought we were getting 2. We're not. I can't just throw this thing up. But he still does throw this thing up. And what I talked about yesterday, and this is a perfect place to see it, is that Jeremiah gets pinned on the sideline. All right. So if you see this here, he's 1 step away from those hash marks on the sideline. And when this corner makes this interception, he's damn near on those hash marks, right? He's about 1 step off those hash marks. Looking where Jeremiah is right here, there's literally nowhere for him to catch the football. This ball would have to be landing right about here for Jeremiah to have a chance on it just because of his route. What he needs to do, and what you'll see him do as he continues to grow, and especially after this tape, he needs to be and hold his posture on the bottom of the numbers. So the bottom of the numbers are often a landmark that receivers use for their splits. They use them for their route targets. You want to see him be closer to the bottom of the numbers, giving the quarterback a bigger – oh, let me undo that one. Giving the quarterback a bigger box to drop this ball into. If Will has a box that's 4 yards 4 yards away from the sidelines, that's Jeremiah making the catch there. Instead, he has a box that is – less than 1 yard off the sideline. That's the depth of the hash mark. And instead of that being a catch or an incompletion, it becomes an interception just because of the landmark that we were traveling on, that Jeremiah was. So while it is disappointing, I was like, dang it, we threw that interception. This clip right here is a massive learning opportunity for the young receiver, and just being like, hey, when you have guys, because Jeremiah has never had a guy, he's never played on a football field where he hasn't been the best athlete by a mile. Today he was, or yesterday he had a guy who could run with him. And this is what happens. This is the technique thing that he's just going to get much, much better at.
Absolutely. And other thing that he's going to learn is when you're in this position, he put himself in a bad position. You turn into the DB at this point. Mm-hmm. You go up and swat that ball away. And if you go to the top of the play, the other thing you see is Rocky. Sorry, my little dog just jumped in here. So if you hit play here, I mean, you don't really. I don't want to call anybody. I don't want to. Obviously, it's not a ref show, but if anyone's curious of what illegal hands to the face is, as it gets called all the time in college and the NFL, if you go, I'll tell you when to stop it. If you stop it right here, you see, I think it's one of the tight ends' helmet is sitting on the O, is sitting in the middle of the O. That's called illegal hands to the face. You see it fall off his head right there. Just a little thing to look at. I get that it's week 3, week 4 for. Yeah, that's usually not allowed. I mean, to each their own, I guess. I don't know how I used to get a little upset about that, so I'm going to have a little bit of a temper for it. But, what are you going to do? That's just something I did notice on that play. Yeah. A whole lot of time before he got the ball downfield there. So, yeah.
It's a good point because, that's the type of stuff. And I wasn't watching or listening to the broadcast. I did hear that there were some comments made about potentially the referees. Again, not a ref show, but whatever it is. All right. So very next play or next possession after the turnover. This was funny. I put this on because I thought it was a nice catch, but it looked just as similar to the interception that just the play before. Like both guys had their hands on it, but this is just a really nice play by this receiver. And this cat, we talked about him a little bit, but this was the receiver who transferred from Louisville and I forget the other school, but had seen some big time ball. Stands about 6'4". He's a huge dude, and didn't really make too much of a factor. The Elijah Metcalf was the guy, was the player of the day, I guess, yesterday on the Marshall offense. But a nice play to get the drive rolling. And then Ohio State does respond. This is, I think, right here is a massive play because looking at the situation, it's 7-7 where the first quarter is ending, and Marshall, is winning the quarter. They have a huge long touchdown drive. Ohio State has one big play, and Marshall forced a turnover. And if you're Ohio State, this is when, not that I don't think ever were in danger of an upset, but this is when like the thought of upset starts to happen. Like, oh God, we got to get off the field here. You don't want to take a deficit into halftime. You don't want to even take a deficit into the third quarter. So when you do that, you lean on your best players. Ohio State comes out in man, and Marshall runs what's usually a guaranteed man beater, whatever you want to call it. We used to call this hurricane when I was in school. It's a 3-man pick play. You're going to get a low pick, middle pick, however you want to call it, and then a deep over. And when you're in man-to-man coverage, you're going to get this receiver running a route just like that. And now this cornerback has to chase. And when you're in chase mode, you have to avoid all of these guys coming across the field. And not only them, but also your defenders who are also running across the field too. It just creates this huge traffic jam in the middle of the field. And Denzel does a nice job. He gets into a trail, attaches to the hip. He's faster than anybody on the field, so he stays there. The ball's completed, but Denzel's on it right away, right? He makes the tackle. It's a 3-yard gain. Sometimes you see plays like that go for 50 in a touchdown because that corner gets picked or he falls or he just gets beat by speed. Not on that play. So Denzel holds him to not a first down. The very next play, the quarter ends. It's now 4th and 1. The very next play, quarterback pulls a keep and trips and falls and gets stopped. That play is this turnover here by the Ohio State defense was made by Denzel Burke, and I'll talk about him every week. I'll say the same thing. One of my favorite players, and it's plays like that are the reason why.
Absolutely, and it just shows. It's that effort. It's that extra effort that you got to give out there, and that's going to show up later in the season. I mean and like I said earlier, there's a really good clip there. If you go back of that left guard right there.
Yeah,
I mean he's on top of, I think that's Ty Hamilton, but them all game did a really good job of knocking the defensive line's hands off, and that's how you get them off balance. And then laying on top of them is how you prevent them from getting up to make a play.
And that pisses them off too, Kevin. Like that is,
oh yeah,
like Ohio State. These 4 defensive linemen believe, and rightfully so, believe that they're the best group in the country. Right? This group believes that they're the best unit in the country. Yes, they were down a couple guys yesterday or one guy, but still stuff like that. Like that play right there, that's like a dominating play. That's a guard winning the rep big time. Like not even a question.
Absolutely.
That's those what
JT almost gets there.
Yeah, yep. JT almost snaps around the edge, but he like snatched him down to the ground and then just jumped on top of him. That's demoralizing stuff like that. But again, it helps out in the back. And we talk about it, this obviously you and I are 2 offensive guys, on defense, right? If 11 guys, if 10 guys do the wrong thing, but one guy does the right thing, you win the rep. Right. On offense, that's not the case. 11's got to be on the same page. You see this, some of our defensive linemen don't get it done, but they're saved on the back end by a really awesome play by Denzel. And then the defensive line picks it up. This is, hey, I mean, it might be the same guy. I can't see numbers from this tape, but instead of, pouting, hey, I got blocked to the ground, I got taken down, he stays disciplined, right, makes a really, really nice play and gets the job done. All right, flip it around. Now the offense starts to get moving a little bit. Let's get Quinshon involved. All right, this dude, Quinshon Judkins, coming out party potentially for him yesterday because I think he was absolutely fantastic. And this is kind of where it started. Just get the ball to a guy like this in space, right? Get him in, get the football out. He's already out leveraged. Look where he's at on the field, right? When he catches this football, he's on the left side of those hash marks, and the guy who's tracking him is 2 yards inside. So just an accurate football, and then that never feels good. I can't imagine that right there feels any good at all. But Quinshon always punishing and had a couple questions yesterday in his post-game press conference of like, hey, dude, it looked a little different for you today. And he's like, yeah, every time we touch the football, like we want to have bad intentions. And like, we want to, we want people to, question why they showed up today and question why they're in front of me trying to make a tackle. And, he put his money where his mouth is, man, because he was spectacular yesterday.
Absolutely.
So get him the football. Very next set. It's 2nd and 9 now. In this run here, this is really intricate and something that's, I think, in my opinion, a veteran run. And we're just going to play. I'm going to play this from the jump and show you the whole entire thing. Takes it down inside the 5-yard line. But this is one. And then when we roll it back to the top, I think that is a run made by awesome offensive line play up front. And then a really veteran savvy run by Quinshon. So let's start with the offensive line. I don't have a better start to the clip for you, but from what we can see here, body on a body, no run throughs, and the guys are getting a nice little push. And you could probably drive a semi through that hole. What do you think?
Yep. And you know why? Honestly, why is that this Carnell? Carnell gets on that backside. I can't tell if it's the corner or if that's the backside backer, and squares him up and just starts driving his feet and just stalls the guy right there. And that's where the real play happens, because the offensive line gets a little bit of a push, not as much as you'd want, but you see that backside defensive end peel out, which is why Josh Simmons has to block him out, because you don't want to force a guy back inside if he's going to create that big of a hole. It's on the running back to make it right. And then you see everyone else blocking down. I think that is the backside backer. That's Carnell's guy, and that's a tough ask. And as it plays out, you'll see he gets on him, squares him up, gets his hands inside, and look at that, just bullies him.
Dude,
you're going nowhere.
Dude, every week Carnell just shows up, and it's something that Will Howard said yesterday in his press conference. He's like, yeah, that group of receivers, he goes, all of them could be the best in the country. All of them probably would have that argument. All of them are probably going to be first, second, third round picks when it's all said and done. But he said they are genuinely about the team. And you see plays like this, and Carnell Tate, holy cow. I mean, we're not, breaking down every single play, to the, as the coaches are, but every play we see, and they're mostly the big ones, are because Carnell Tate's getting a block or hustling or putting some extra effort in, and he's just continuing to show up. That's amazing right there.
You want to talk about why people get drafted high? You want to talk about why Terry McLaurin plays so well in the NFL? That's the kind of stuff he used to do. That's the stuff he still does. He gets in there, gets his face in there, bullies you, and then by the time the third and fourth quarter come around, you don't want to be out there.
You don't want it. Oh, and he runs past you for big plays too. So, yeah, that's awesome. Awesome there by Carnell. So it's all blocked up. All right, now it's up to the running back. Everybody has done their job. Now it's up to Quinshon to make this play happen. Now, from my perspective right here, everybody watching or looking or watching the game yesterday or at the game are like, why is he not just going right there? Like, just go, right? That hole's massive. Well, what running backs are taught is to, and in certain terms, and it's coached differently in different places, but I was told to press the butts of the offensive line. All right. So what that means is get up as close as you can to the offensive line, and then just work your way off of them. Just work your way off them just to be that tight. Because if Quinshon takes his hand off right now and just goes this way, he probably breaks this tackle of the corner, but maybe not. But he's in the way. This corner is right in this alley right there. Instead, Quinshon jumps to the line of scrimmage. All right. He gets all the way to the line right here. And now this corner is got all his momentum flowing this way, and he's already on the hash mark. So when Quinshon then late cut out to the outside, he out leverages the corner, and now he can reach the edge with no problem at all and pushes it almost to the end zone. But it's just that little veteran savvy. I'm sure freshman Quinshon takes his handoff and goes bang immediately, not quite that far, but goes bang immediately to that hole and gets a nice 8-yard gain. Veteran Quinshon presses the line of scrimmage, gets to the second edge, makes a guy miss because he created that space, and now you have first and goal from the 2-yard line. Which is awesome stuff. Just a really good set there by him. All right, so now we're first and goal from the 3-yard line or from the 4-yard line. I put this clip in here because this is the first of a pitch series that very clearly was something that the Buckeyes were working on this week. So this first one, we don't get the push we want. I don't love it into the boundary, but whatever it is, they definitely were setting stuff up because we get a loss on the play. But I put it in there because it's going to be a sign of things to come. All right, Ohio State punches it in from the goal line. Or from first and goal, they take a 14-7 lead. Then the defense comes right back out, Kevin, and does their job. They force a 3-and-out because, yes, they're punting from almost midfield. We had a lot of those kicker problems, so a lot of that gave Marshall some nice field position. So Ohio State forces a 3-and-out, and now you're like, all right, Bucks, let's get this thing going.
Yep.
This punt here, man, geez, this muff just can't happen. It just absolutely cannot happen, and would have given Marshall first and 10 from the 11 because you can't return a muff punt. So they'd get the ball right there-ish, right there, and be set up really nicely to tie the game or, at least kick a field goal. Instead,
and what's hard is you saw it in the next punt on the TV version. I think it's Brandon Ennis was returning it. He was holding his hand up like a center fielder trying to block out the sun. I think it played I'm not going to give him excuses, but it probably played a role because the next one you see it, and it's not in our film review. He was holding his hand up for probably 5 seconds, all the way until he made the catch. I was like, I almost wanted him to just not even catch it. If I was him, I would
run away from it.
Yeah. If you know where it's going to be, just run.
Yeah, and totally, and I'm with it there. Like we said yesterday, it was. There was not a cloud in the sky all day, and it was a beautiful day. It was hotter than hell, but it was a beautiful day. But the sun it's a good catch by you. He did have his hand up to kind of block the sun out there for a while, but makes the catch on the next one. And why that's so big, dude, is because if you're Marshall, you're like, holy cow, we should have had first and 10 from the 12. Instead, we punt it back. They make the catch, and now you're like, okay, we've been playing them tough. They got to go 86 yards. To really extend this lead. Let's go. Let's get our defense out there, make a play. Instead, Quinshon says, I have other ideas. The offensive line says they have other ideas. Quinshon's career-long touchdown run, 86 yards. It is in the record book at Ohio State. There were some questions going back of where it actually fit yesterday in the press box, but awesome home run ability by Quinshon Judkins. And this is something that him and Travion being back there is kind of unfair to the rest of the country, but this guy can really, really play some football.
And if you go back to the top of the plate too, another thing I want to point out is it's not our starters out there. Noticed it on the TV copy when they went like behind. Austin's in there at guard and does a great job blocking that, passing it off. Him and Josh Fryer do a great job of double teaming that D lineman up to that linebacker. And that's really where the hole opens up, and that's where the run happens, because you see that safety come out of position, come all the way down, boom, and then Josh gets up there, puts his hand on that shoulder pad of that linebacker, gets on him, and then the rest is history. But that's where we talked about having Austin in there to start the season, when obviously not ideal with Donovan out, but you might not see that type of play at this point if he doesn't get those snaps early in the season, which is just what's so crucial for his development and the offensive line in general, where I said you can plug and play. For some reason, Double T's not out there. It's his job to go in and do, and next man up, do your job. That's what we always talked about.
You talked about the standard earlier. That's the standard is plays like this.
Competitive excellence.
What's also competitive excellence too is, hey, we threw a touchdown on a bubble screen earlier, so we're just going to run that and tag this on. And quarterbacks, you see quarterbacks all the time, and this is something that coaches preach in the quarterback rooms and all sorts of stuff, is like, carry out your fakes, right? You hand your ball off. If your fake is to run, carry it out. If your fake is to throw, carry it out. Because why? When Will Howard carries out his fake, while the safety has his eyes inside now, he's flying up because he sees this action right here. So he's flying up to make a good play. And now, bang, he's way out of position. That's 11 guys doing their job. And when 11 guys do it perfectly, you get one of the biggest runs in Ohio State history. And really,
see Cardell you see him at the end celebrating, and he was shot for shot with him. And he was running there stride for stride, because when at the end you'll see him get tackled and pop up on who's standing right next to him. The guy who just gives up. There he is. Just effort. I mean, he's. I don't know if it's because he likes being on camera or what, but he's always.
Hey,
he's always
whatever,
there.
hey, if that's your motivation, hey, I'll block you there.
Exactly.
Dude, this may be becoming the Carnell Tate Stan podcast, because here we go again. very next set here. Now Ohio State's starting to kind of pull away. What you'll see is just get this ball to Emeka. Emeka makes everybody miss, but watch this block here by Carnell Tate. Let me run you right in the concession stand, take you into the sidelines. And it's just effort stuff like that, dude, that like when you have those players, yes, against Marshall it stands out, but next week against Michigan State and against Iowa and against Oregon, that turns yesterday it turned a 10-yard gain into a 20-yard gain, but in those games it'll turn a 3-yard gain into a 5-yard gain, and like it's that type of stuff that is what winning football is. And you see the clues of it. Another clue of it is Travion Henderson. This dude, like, he's really freaking good at running the football. And here's another good example. Kind of have that inside zone look. I think they do a decent job blocking. You don't get the push you might want, but instead of just forcing it in there, he uses great balance, bounces this thing outside, and is a huge chunk explosive play because of it.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what you see a good job out of. You see a good job out of Donovan and Josh Simmons up at the top, double team on up. But there's Travion just making him right again. He does a jump cut. He presses all the way in, almost presses too far, and then realizes, I got the outside. Excuse me. And then, thank you. And then makes him pay. I mean, he always runs. One thing that people don't really notice that often is if you watch, his shoulders are always over his feet when he gets tackled. He falls forward. There was a Madden thing before called falling forward, where no matter what happened when he got tackled, it always ended up getting him an extra yard. And the way he runs, he does the same thing.
So good. And the 1-2 punch that are he and Quinshawn is spectacular. And now we go back into the red zone, right? Nice little drive here. I showed the first pitch earlier. Here's the second one off of it. All right. You probably saw it on Twitter yesterday or X. People are calling it a super counter. I would call it whatever you want. 3 guys through the line, coming through on a pool, but it's all set up because, hey, they use that like fake pitch thing, and Travion takes a couple steps this way and sets the defense. Even if it's just a step or two to get them offline, you see it. You see these 2 guys here make a move out, and now we got 1, 2, 3 guys pulling through. Oh, good. Now you got 3 guys. Another big touchdown.
And if you play it through, it's just you almost have too many guys than there are for blockers. You got Austin kicking out that defensive end, does a good job there, and then you got both those tight ends right there making a hole. Mm-hmm. And Travion, you're not going to arm tackle him. He runs all the way through it. And that's just the reality of the situation. Austin does a good job kicking him out there. They do a good job of washing it down. I think that's Seth seals off that defensive end.
Yeah, right here.
Nose tackle, and then look at that line. It's just it's right there, and they do a great job.
Truthfully, Kevin, I wonder if the aiming point for this is more out here, because we're getting this block here. But at some point, you just let the running back be himself and use instinct, right? I wonder if that aiming point may be a little bit further out. But he was like, "Hey, dude, I see green, and I'm going to go score. Like, just go score, put it in the paint." But yeah, I wonder if that aiming point is a little bit further out. I'm sure that's not the end of us seeing that play, because it was pretty successful. There's more wrinkles off of it. There's a little cliffhanger there. There's a couple more off of it. All right, Ohio State rolling, end of the half. Let's get there. Let's just get in at 28-7 and really put a bow on this thing and get it wrapped up. Instead, Marshall continues to fight. Credit to the Thundering Herd. They do not go away. Ohio State gets out, again, using a little disguise. You're going to get some kind of a 2 shell here where you're going to get it in the flat, and then getting Hancock in space here makes it kind of tough. Or excuse me, that's Lathan. Makes it a little challenging on him. He kind of takes the bait inside to go chase this receiver instead of staying in his slot. Quarterback does a really nice job staring down the barrel of the gun and completes a pass on 4th and 4. This was an opportunity for Ohio State to force another turnover. Instead, Marshall not only completes the pass, moves the sticks, but this is the play that Caden gets ejected on for targeting. Right there, you see it. This isn't a agree or disagree comment. It's just that's what it is right there. Refs called it what they called it. So he's ejected from the game, and then 15 extra yards tacked on to that play.
Absolutely. And I think it's safe to say the linebackers, I'd say the front seven, for how good they've been for most of the year, had a bad day. Just call it how it is. They had a bad day. That, you watching it at home, it was. Literally, I'm pretty sure if you were to put a picture in an encyclopedia next to the definition of targeting, it would be that, because he led with the crown of his head. It wasn't a forceful one. It wasn't a Vontaze Burfict type targeting, but it just was. You can't. He lowered the crown right as he's going in for impact. He's standing completely straight up, which I get, but if so it means he sees the ball leave the quarterback's hands, wants to deliver a shot, wants to get in his head, but you got to be a little bit more disciplined there. And it was frustrating. And
you just got to stay disciplined on it. It's hard to make excuses for stuff like that, especially after the throw. And we can talk about whether we agree or disagree with that till the cows come home, but the call was made and he got ejected, and then they get 15 yards. More importantly, Kev, they get 15 yards tacked onto it. So instead of it still needing some space and with limited time, they get the ball here, 1st and 10 on the 14-yard line, and they make Ohio State pay immediately with a really nice catch. This Elijah Metcalf dude, this is a cat who's going to be playing next year on Sundays. Really good player, and he proved it on yesterday. But this was just an amazing throw, amazing catch. From the box, from everywhere in the stadium, it looked like it was incomplete. It looks incomplete right now. However, there is a back view of it where you can see just a sliver of red, red turf in between his foot.
Reminded me of that JSN catch his freshman year, where it was the same end zone, and I didn't agree with it. Even when I was looking at it, I didn't think there was one angle. It's like, okay, incomplete, and then that last time, like, maybe not. And I think the note is the referee said stands, not confirmed. So since they called it on the field as a touchdown, there wasn't enough evidence to overturn it. And that's what they went with, which is opposite of the JSN one, obviously, because he was called incomplete. They looked at it, think, nope, that was in.
That was in. Yeah. It was funny. Everybody in the box was like, there's no way they just called that a touchdown. And then you're seeing on the TVs, everyone's like, oh, maybe that is a touchdown. It's a heck of a catch, good throw, and just a good finish to the half for Marshall. They go right down the field, score a touchdown, and now it's still a football game. Like, nobody was really thinking, oh, Ohio State's going to lose, but now you gotta play. This is still a football game here. So here we go. First drive of the second half, 2nd and 3. Let's go with a Travion home run. And again, what does this look like? You don't see the top of this clip, but I'm not sure exactly who it is. I think it's a Mecca, comes across in motion just right like this. And we're going to use this pitch to send Travion to the house. This guy's unbelievable, man. It's wild, his toughness and his physicality combined with his speed. He's everything you really want in a running back. He's that stocky build. He's so balanced. He's so powerful, but he's also got that explosion ability and just makes everybody right. A great cut right there, setting up this block and then setting up Seth. I think this was more to set up Seth's block to coming across, as Seth has this dude lined up for an absolute kill shot here. And I mean, this is this not a lineman's dream? A DB not looking at
on
you?
a safety? Are you kidding me? I mean, ideally, how this play's supposed to go is and he squeaks out of it. Typical. Ideally, how this is supposed to go is the tight end should have sealed that defensive end in. That defensive end fought over the top to keep contained. If you go back to the top, right, one more, get right before the snap, right here. So it's a pin and pull. So you have that stand up defensive end right there, head up, and that the tight end's looking down at the ball, which interesting decision when you're that close. You know what the snap count's on, you can hear it. He needs to get his head to the outside because it's a pin and pull. Ideally, that defensive end is inside of you, but he's not here. He's outside. So you got to get your head across there, which will teach Coach Key will teach that. That'll be a point of emphasis. And then Josh, as it goes, he fights to get around, but then you gotta you can't hold on to a stock forever. You got to sell at some point. And he's like, all right, you know what? I'm out of. There's color in the hole right in front of me. I'm going to step up and do something about it. And Travion sees that, and Josh Simmons gets on it. I mean, he makes it. That guy. And when you get Josh Simmons coming, you're not going to be able to react to. He hits him right in the chest, maybe a little bit in the head, face. What are you going to do? But that's just how it goes. And then Travion makes him pay for it. Like if that safety is going to go squeak away from Seth and give up that much of a gap right there. I mean, you see a Mecca out there locking up that DB. You can see it all day. These wide receivers love to catch. They also love to block. And then you see Austin if you go back a little bit farther, you see Austin fight all the way up to that linebacker. It's like, there he is. Just gets on it. Or maybe that was Josh Fryer. I think it was Josh Fryer. Yep, gets up on that linebacker, keeps him out there. And there's Donovan stealing it backside, being the best card in the country like we all expect. And then just bam, stiff arm, throws him aside. It's hard to tackle him, especially when he's got the rest and the ability to have fresh legs for an entire game because he's splitting time with Quinshot. And both of their mentality is, all right, we're both playing on Sundays. We're both going to be high draft picks next year. Let's go win a national championship this year.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing. And that was a great clip of, hey, we just got 86 to the house by Quinshon, and now Travion breaks 4 tackles and goes 40 to the house. And you're like, there's nothing defenses can do. There's nothing you can do about it. All right, very next possession. This is when the game pretty much goes to wraps. This is a Mecca right here. He started right here. Exact same look, okay? Exact same look. He comes across the formation. What did we do? We pinned and pulled last time, right? You're going to get what looks potentially like a block here. And this is in that same family of those 2 pitch plays we did down in the red zone where Travion scored on one, Quinshon got held up on the other. But instead of this time, we fake the pitch. And when you fake the pitch, what do you have off of it? Bang, bang. You got nothing. Everyone's flow this way, flow this way, flow this way, flow this way. What's left? Absolutely nothing. And that is a well-developed scheme. That's what when people on talking heads, I'm not saying Kevin and I are the truth of football, but anywhere you look, people talk scheme. Dan Orlovsky talks scheme. All these guys talk scheme. This is a play that's well-developed, that lives in your offense. It looks like your offense. It's not something new or random. And it's stuff you get to in the first quarter. You get to in the red zone. You get to in the second quarter. You get to it in the middle of the field. And then when it's time for the exclamation point, you're ready for it because you set it up all game long. The defense is now used to it. They see it. They're like, oh, can't let up another big touchdown. But you're not going to let it up to Travion. You're going to let it up to JJ. And there would also have been a touchdown right here. But this isn't you're going to take what you can get. I'll throw it to JJ all day long and let him go win.
Exactly. You want to see the difference in speed from a tight end to I believe that's tight end right there. For a tight end to a wide receiver, it's shown right there. I mean, that's like me trying to keep up with Jake Hausman back in the day. It's just not going to work out well.
Jeremiah's running this direction, 4 yards behind. We're running straight full head of steam, and Jeremiah's going to win by what's this, 5 yards it ends up being?
I'll give it to him. One's selfish. I'll absorb that hit. You know what? It's fine. Absolutely.
I wanted to awesome finish there. And really nice, really well done third quarter by Ohio State, right? You win the quarter 14-0. You do a really nice job getting it there. This is wanted to get Carnell for a catch in here because I think that this play right here shows again, third quarter, hot day. Starters are all still in, still a football game. This is a really good example of a nice play action call, but well executed up front. And then a really nice route combination down low where this is basically just a clear out. When last Monday night, if you're watching the Manning cast, Peyton Manning was talking about what he called Pittsburgh post and in, or pig is what we called it, post dig, or any type of clear out where you get vertical inside to account for safety 1 and safety 2. And then you send number 1 on some kind of an in route, in dig, something, whatever you want to call it, to set up the middle. And you see the 2 verticals inside, both those dudes are clearing out. You see Carnell making his cut right about here on the very, very bottom of your screen. Most importantly, you see Will Howard just going full statue right here because there isn't a guy that's even threatening the pocket, stands in there, rips one right down the middle. Just literally exactly how you draw it up. A play like this where it's a huge, massive chunk play, but it's really based off of a good concept, knowing what you're going to get and executing to perfection on all levels, from center to guard to tackles to quarterback to running back to receiver.
Quinshawn does a good job too here. He's ripping off 85-yard runs and steps up to pass block right there because calling a spade, Josh Simmons gets beat here, and because of Quinshawn, he fixes it. Or is that Austin? That's Austin. All right, wait. Oh, hold on. That is Seth.
Get it.
I think it's – it's a tight end. It's a tight end there.
He gets beat.
He gets beat. Tight ends aren't the best pass blockers. Don't even get me started on that one. But, I can call – and if Luke Farrell wants to call me and talk about that, I'll show him clips all day. But
shout out to Luke.
Oh, yeah. Great guy. Love Luke Farrell. But that's just an example of, selfishness, picking up our guys when they're not playing, when they have a mistake.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's what good teams do. And when you do that, you make the other guy right. And they do that, and Will delivers a nice football. And then Quinshawn, I hate when that happens. Quinshawn punches it in. It was the last clip, so it jumps all the way to the top. I can't hit back on it. But Quinshawn, I promise you, he punches it in. And Ohio State wraps it all up. And a really very convincing victory once they got rolling, right? It wasn't perfect, Kevin. It never is perfect. Coaches are never happy. But in those scenarios, those games, you got to just take care of business and do what you got to do. Before we get out of here, nice tight show. We're going to keep it under an hour. I love it. Before we get out of here, Kevin, any general thoughts as we finish up this preseason portion of our schedule before Big Ten football kicks off next week?
Not what I wanted to see. We do a good job on this show of hyping people up, but we got to keep it real at times. And that, especially that first drive, the front seven defense, we talked about it all year. Defense has been great. Defense has been great. Defense is great. I mean, yeah, granted, a couple passes here and there. I think that one that you showed of who got shot on the sideline hit Igbenos in the face before he made the catch. Mm-hmm. I'm not here to make excuses. I'm just saying, I talked about it in the pre-show on Thursday. We're a bend, don't break defense. We should not be even a bending defense against a team like Marshall. They came out stagnant. They came out slow. Obviously, we're down a couple guys. Talik Williams being out's huge. Caden getting ejected also big. But we have to do a better job of starting faster. And I'm not, like I said, I'm an offensive lineman. I'm maybe a little hypercritical of the defense. However, that's just my opinion. And as it goes on, I fully expect to be able to pick it up. But if I'm going to be a realist here and say, hey, where didn't we play well? It's in that front seven. I mean, that's just what it was. I mean, you saw safeties making plays. You saw Latham make a play. You saw Denzel Burke making a play. The reality situation was our offense played well. Our front seven on defense did not. And I they're going to come back and make me like an idiot next week and have like 8 sacks, and I can't wait. But
and hopefully, right? Like this was spent to. It's a hard scenario, and yes, I guess I see everything positively and try to keep it that way. But you're dead right, dude. Coming out of the bye week the way that they did is not acceptable. And Coach Day talked about it yesterday, and it's the standard you talked about. You know, this team isn't expecting to just go, win a couple games in the regular season and go to the Tax Slayer Bowl and get a win. Like this has national championship aspirations, and that wasn't a national championship effort. The positive to that is that it's week 3 or week 4, I guess, game 3. And now the tests begin. You're not starting with Michigan, but you are starting with Michigan State, and you're going to see a well increased level of competition. You go in Michigan State, Iowa, Oregon, your next 3 before bye week. This is a big stretch. Oregon's starting to come around, after they had a slow start. Iowa looks like they can score points this year. Maybe.
Who knows?
I don't know. Who knows?
It was an Iowa wedding I was at last night, and a lot of the alumni were not too optimistic about the offense, but they've shown spurts, so that'll be interesting. And then obviously you got Oregon, who's been hit or miss, but any day of the week they can show up and play phenomenal, especially when you're going out there, long travel day. Staying out there. The nice thing is it's a night game, so it'll feel a little bit more normal. You're not playing at 9 a.m. your time. You're playing at 4 or 5, but 4. I think it's a 7 o'clock kick. So 4. What's the difference at that point? But that's why we call it Buckeye time. That's what Coach Nick used to call it.
Yeah. It's a really nice stretch to get things started, and then you're blessed with a bye week coming off that. So you have a 3-week sprint here to get things right for the Ohio State Buckeyes, and they really can. They can come out on Saturday against the Michigan State Spartans and look the part. First road game, so there's that element to it. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about this week. Kevin and I will be back with you on Tuesday, getting prepped and ready for the Michigan State Spartans as we travel to East Lansing for a 7 p.m. kick next Saturday night against Sparty. But for this one, the preseason's wrapped up, and we're excited to get you some football against some competition that we can, not in a disrespectful way, get really excited about, because we're starting to see some teams that are on the same level as Ohio State. For more content, go over to the website. Tons of written content all throughout it. si.com/college/Ohio State. We'll get you right to the Ohio State Buckeyes on SI page. We have content all the time, new written stuff always. So get it there. Also get everything you want on our video page here on YouTube. But we appreciate you jumping in with us. We love doing these film review shows on Sunday mornings.
Absolutely.
Giving you a taste of what we used to go through on Sundays, whether it be on a win or a loss. But getting in the tape room and doing that. So love that you hang out with us. So don't forget to like and subscribe, but really appreciate it. And get ready for a first Big Ten matchup against Michigan State. But appreciate you guys hanging out with us this morning. And as always, let's go Bucks.
Go Bucks.